Hi everyone, it's Beth here at Cookware SOS. I'm guessing you're here because you're about to embark on the wonders of induction cooking. But I also know it can be pretty intimidating, especially when they tell you that you need special cookware. Well, stick with me and I'm going to let you know just how special that cookware needs to be. Some of you may not be that familiar with induction cooking, but it is becoming more and more popular all the time. A couple of big reasons for that is that you do get that instant heat, very similar to gas. But if you don't already have the gas lines in place, it's a great alternative and you can save on the cost of getting that gas put in. Another reason for its popularity is its safety. It actually only heats up the pot that you're cooking in, not the entire stovetop. So you don't have to worry about spills, burning, little hands kind of reaching up onto the stovetop. I mean, it can get hot, but it's not going to have that red hot burner that the gas or an electric coil stove would have. Well, speaking of coils, how do induction stoves work? Well, I'm not a physicist. I'm not going to get technical here. In fact, I am here to simplify it for you. So underneath that glass or ceramic top, you have copper coils under the elements. When you plug in the stovetop, the electricity runs to those coils and creates an electromagnetic field. Now, that field on its own won't do anything. You can turn on the element, stick your hand right on it, you can leave your dish towel on it, nothing's going to happen. Now, once you put something magnetic onto that element, then that magnetic field is going to create currents. The currents are going to agitate the molecules in the pot, and then the pot itself is going to be what heats up. And that is then going to transfer the heat from the pot into your food. If it's not magnetic, those currents aren't going to work and your pot won't work. So now we've come to our big aha moment. You need magnetic cookware to work on an induction stove. That means that glass isn't going to work, ceramic isn't going to work, and aluminum and copper pots aren't going to work. Now, you might be thinking that it's going to be really difficult to find magnetic cookware to work on your induction stove, but it really isn't. And I bet you already have pieces in your cupboard that are going to work. Cast iron is going to work really well on your induction stove. The nice thing about it is it could be enamel coated or just the raw cast iron, and it's still going to be a really strong magnetic material. I know some people worry about using cast iron on a glass top. They're worried about scratches, but there's two ways to avoid that. And one is not to slide the pot across the glass. And the other is because induction stoves don't have that hot burner, you can put material in between the pot and the glass. And that could just be something like a sheet of parchment or paper towel. Personally, I worry more about dropping my cast iron on the glass. Luckily, that hasn't happened. Now, luckily for most of us, stainless steel cookware is going to be magnetic. There are two types of stainless steel used in the manufacturing of cookware. One is 1810 stainless steel. The 10 stands for the nickel content. Now, you want that nickel content on anything that's going to be touching the food because it's going to be very strong against any corrosion from the acids in the food. On the outside, you can get away with an 18-0 because it isn't going to be interacting with the food. And the 18-0 without the nickel is going to be magnetic. Now, it's always good to double check, grab a magnet, and if it sticks to your pot, you're good to go. If it falls away, then you may need to start looking at a new cookware set. If you do end up shopping for new stainless steel cookware, try and stay away from the pots that have the narrow disc bottom. You want to make sure that the base is covered by as much magnetic material as possible. Now, here is where some of you are going to be a little disappointed. Most nonstick cookware is a coated aluminum. and aluminum just isn't magnetic. But a lot of larger companies are making magnetic versions of their cookware by putting a magnetic plate on the bottom. Just remember that those items are going to end up being a bit more expensive than the non-magnetic version, and they're also going to weigh more. Some people really like the lightness of an aluminum pan, but that is going to go away with that magnetic plate. Now, I know it's not as popular as cast iron or stainless steel, but carbon steel is going to work really well on your induction cooktop. Now, I know a lot of us have at least one item in our cupboard that's made of carbon steel, and that's a wok. Unfortunately, if you have one of the versions with the rounded bottom, that one isn't going to work as well because you need to have constant, even contact with that stovetop. So you might need to exchange that one for one with a flat bottom. Now that you know what they mean by special cookware, I have just a few other tips that may help in your use of the induction stove. And one of those is that you need to make sure that the pot fits the element. If you put on a small pot to a large element, it's quite possible that it won't even detect that the pot is there. If you put on too large of a pot, you're going to end up with a little less even heat. So don't start looking for oversized pots to work on your stove. If you do have a lot of odd shapes, say ovals and rectangles, or maybe a grill pan, then you might want to start looking at getting an induction stove that has some kind of flexi zone, and that might help with those different shapes. Now, one of the things that I go on about in all of my videos is not to overheat your pans. And the one thing about induction stoves, especially as you're starting to get used to them, is that they heat up really quickly. So again, you might want to start on the low temperature and gradually move up the heat. A lot of these stoves come with a boost option, and that is going to heat up the pan really quickly. So if you have some that's maybe enameled on the outside, you want to be careful that you don't get any thermal shock. You also might want to watch out for those new non-stick pans that you have, because that aluminum can still warp. If that pan doesn't sit flat, then it might not heat up on the induction stove. As we wrap it up today, I'm really hoping that as you walk around your kitchen with your trusty magnet, that you find you only need to replace one or two pieces if you need to replace anything at all. But don't fear, most modern cookware is easily labeled with the induction coils, and your sales clerks are always a great resource. You should be able to find new cookware without any problem. If you do have any questions, however, just feel free to leave comments below and I'll be happy to answer them as best as I can. Thanks so much for joining me here at Cookware SOS. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.